Welcome to our digital broadcast. We're excited to be coming to you live from Workday Rising. I'm Jim Stratton, Chief Technology Officer at Workday, and I'm here with Penelope Prett, Accenture's Global Workday Business Group Lead. We're going to explore how organizations can leverage data to create skills-based workforce. Penelope, welcome.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
Great to have you here. How's Rising going so far?
Rising is wonderful this year. Tons of clients on the floor, lots of people talking about the art of the possible. It's all futuristic opportunity, Jim.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's jump in. So you like to talk about this concept of a burning platform around skills management. Can you talk about some of the challenges for companies and how they manage their skills and some of the difficulties that they're facing there?
Sure, and in today's world, if we think about it, skills is really the currency of the digital age. It's the language we're going to have to speak to keep up with the current rate of technology rotation. You know in your business, and I know in my business, that technology is changing at a faster pace than it's ever done before. And if we couple that with a couple of external factors and how industries are converging and what's happening with AI as it begins to take over larger and larger parts of the workforce, what you see is people who are struggling with what they should be good at so that they can carve a good career path. If we just look out there, 95% of companies that we talk to say they are going to invest in skills, but only 28% of workers feel engaged in that journey. So there's something broken between the aspirational desire of companies to have a skills-based currency to run their company with and how employees are going to be engaged in that. And that's what we're working on. Make sense?
It makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Now, I know one of the big challenges for actually getting going for moving into a skills-based management is having a good skills ontology. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it's hard for you to talk about skills if everybody's using different language, right?
Yeah.
Every industry, every company mostly has grown their skills organically. So how we define them varies from door to door to door. And in order to really make skills powerful and perhaps most importantly, transferable across career experiences, we need to have a common language around skills. And that's what we mean when we say skills ontology. And it sounds super easy. Well, just create one, right? But when you've grown up with everybody having different points of view on this, and then you try to bring it together, it's hard to get to commonality. That's one of the places where we look to Workday to help us guide the way, because you guys support a large number of customers across many different industries.
Many industries.
You're able to collect these skills and bring some commonality to them, and then Accenture can work with you to refine what those skills categories are. They'll be different for everyone. There's no single set that works everywhere. But for us, the most important first step is getting to a common language so we can talk across the world about what's going on in the skills domain.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And can you talk a little bit about the role that AI plays in helping us get there?
So a lot of basic block and tackle around using skills is what you and I would think of as pattern identification, right? Just finding out what skills are relevant in market, how certain skills keep showing up in different jobs, different work, what skills appear to be present in the profiles of people who succeed versus the profiles of people who struggle. All of this type of pattern analysis and predictive analysis is very difficult to get to on these very, very large data patterns. So what we want to do is employ AI in the best possible way to help us create career experiences and predictable development paths for people that are going to result in them having the best possible outcome on their career journey.
Yeah. And if you think about it really at the largest scale across these industries, you get a big enough data set, you can find those patterns, right? But you've got to get to very, very big scale, which is, I think, really where AI comes in, and being able to understand all of that data across such a vast stretch of businesses and industries.
That's exactly right, Jim.
Yeah.
And companies will feel different about participating. Many companies will be willing to donate their skills. Some companies will only want to take skills from the environment, and both are okay. The important thing for you and I both as we're building this is we want as much data as possible in the system from which to draw those inferences and patterns.
Do it at scale. That's great. So can you help us understand some best practices that CIOs, in your role as CIO previously at Accenture, can you help us understand some best practices to start putting this into place within a company?
Sure. So, like you said, I was the global CIO at Accenture before I came to this job. And one of the things that we did while I was in that role was to install Workday for our company. And for other CIOs, the counsel that I will give them is don't overthink it. The simple act of bringing up a SaaS platform into bringing your business into the cloud requires you to be thoughtful as a business about how to convert data in. So you have this golden opportunity on that journey to re-examine all the data that you have, to discard what's not good, to keep what's good, and perhaps more importantly, to think about the business processes you're going to run, in this case in HR with skills, to keep that data high integrity and usable going forward. So very simply, just the act of setting up a backbone for HR should allow you to clean all of this data and give you a good baseline to start. The other thing that I would suggest for CIOs, which was actually really interesting for us, is you and I know that IT is one of the most understood skills domains there is, right?
True.
Other domains are still in the process of defining what a good career path looks like, and some are changing all the time. But IT as an industry has had fairly consistent definitions of what jobs are. And so as CIO, we volunteered to do the first experiment with skills ontology across our user group because it was understood. We had a large enough user base of IT people in Accenture to draw reasonable patterns from those data. And as we began to go into this, what we found that was really interesting and kind of an unintended and positive benefit was that people using Workday now control their own skill story. And what I mean by that is they can actually interact with what we as a company think about them and the skill sets they have using the Workday capabilities. It introduces a level of transparency and control over skills development at the employee level that we didn't have previously with all of our disparate systems. So it's just a ton of opportunity to redefine how your company is going to engage in the skills experience, both on the take it to market side and on the help the employees side, that I would urge every CIO not to miss as they go through their journey to the cloud.
Yeah, that's really great. So I heard a few points that I just want to come back to in that. I mean, it sounds like it starts really with that transformation of your business processes and cleaning that up, really a curation of your data and of your skills ontology in this case that comes along with that. But then the point that you made about enabling transparency and ownership of that data for the employee, for the individual themselves, like that's just hugely important as we work towards building trust in the underlying systems that are helping us move towards these skills-based management and other types of AI that we're going to do as well. That openness, transparency, putting it in the hands of the individual is just incredibly important.
And if you think about it, let's just run a little kind of storyline here, right? If I have an employee who is thinking about what's the next step in their career, what if I could use this to take a look at their skills base they've incurred so far, seeing where they performed really well, so they liked and identified with the work, seeing where they didn't perform so well, and I could predict not one next role, but the next 4 or 5 skills-based roles where they can see a long trajectory of employment with Accenture that allows them to grow as an individual. We believe that creates stickiness, and that's what we want. And the more you put the employee in control of that experience and expose the data to them so they can make intelligent decisions about how to drive their own career path, I think they find it empowering, and I think we get really good responses.
Yeah, empower is exactly the word that I was thinking as you were talking about that. It's really great, empowering their own career and their own ability to drive that. So can you talk a bit about what you see as the future of skills-based management and maybe a little bit about what that means for the partnership between Accenture and Workday?
Sure. So what we're going to do, as every CIO would have sought to do, is to exploit that skills data as much as possible. So several different directions we're going to take this together. One, I think we need to start thinking about in market, there's a ton of third-party certifications and credentials. So for example, Workday offers certifications in all of its modules. We want to be able to track those globally. So as a person goes from company to company, they take their employee skill story with them. Right. So it gives us a much better level of consistency across industries. We're also seeing a convergence of industries. So we're going to need to figure out together how to take some of those skills definitions and create more common languages for places where industry bridge. The whole world is becoming connected. And we're going to need to find a way to bridge the skills definitions around that to help companies achieve those goals. I also think there's lots of ways that we can use skills to do very simple things, like take a look at a person's learnings to date, take a look at the aspirational jobs they identify with, identify what skills gaps they have, and predict through a whole host of other capabilities such as learning what they can do to build those skills. Sometimes it's training, sometimes it's role and experiential. There's a variety of options, but the first thing is to say, to get from where you are now to where you aspire to be, here are the things that we're going to need to build in you, and here are all the paths by which we can build that. Imagine the power if you put that in a person's hands and then said, tell me what you want to do. I've guided you for how you can achieve what you want. Now you have choices, and it goes back to that concept of empowerment. So that's where we're going together between Workday and Accenture.
Terrific, super exciting. Any other thoughts, anything else you would want to add, any additional advice you'd want to have for CIO community in particular as they're starting on this journey?
I think something you and I have talked about in other channels as well is the best advice that we can give is just get started. Please don't stress about how much data you have or where it is. The funny thing is, everyone says, I don't think I have that data. I promise you, in every company that's been around more than a year, you have that data, whatever it is, somewhere in the vast array of your company. You just need to go find it and pull it, and don't overstress about it. Gather it together, see what you're dealing with, and begin to let technology like AI help you make sense of the data. You don't have to figure it all out. I think, Jim, that's what's different for where we're sitting today than 10 years ago. These paths were much more manual, and while we had the base technology to collect stuff, we didn't really know how to leverage machine technology, automation, and AI to help us interpret what to do with it. In today's world, there are new advancements being made every day on that, so don't stress about the tech. Go out, gather your data, start to play with it, start to learn, and most importantly, engage your business. It's very, very important that your business partners understand what you're doing. I think CIOs can light the way by being the first ones to do a skills frame in their company, but I also think you're going to need your CHRO on board with you to understand how to bring it to the rest of the party.
Well, and I love the point that you made earlier about it's, well, that point exactly, that the whole company eventually needs to come along on this, and this needs to be transformative to the entire business. You don't have to start there. You don't have to start with everybody's got to come on board and we've got to curate all this data across everywhere and change our processes and move to skills-based management. You can start small, you can pilot it like you did, and I'm sure Accenture IT is not a small organization to pilot, but you can, pick within your own organization that group that you can get started and see how it goes, try it out, and then bring that to the rest of the business.
Exactly, and building that case with the CHRO to your population of how their involvement in constantly registering things like skills, making sure they record their job experiences, is going to lead to a better outcome for them. That's what's going to get the population on your side and participating. We've had tremendous luck with it at Accenture, and we're going to keep going. And
that's one of the other things that we found too, is it's not always the business leaders driving top down. Once you actually see the value of it and see that the individuals at the company are the ones that are going to drive it, they're the ones that are going to motivate and talk about how great it is and help push that along.
That's exactly right, Jim.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, Penelope, it's been a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having
us
me
here. All right, well, stay tuned for more engaging discussions, and thank you everybody for joining us.